Hi guys, I'm General Sengar, and this time I'm here to present to you the revised edition of my book, Battalion Command, as you can see here. The cover of this book, revised edition, is the same as it was earlier. This book has actually been recommended for study by the Army War College, and it's so heartening that a lot of officers actually gave me a call to tell me how useful they found this book. Somebody actually called it a Bible on Battalion Command, and one officer told me that it was Gita Upadesh on Battalion Command. And third officer gave me a call to tell me that this book is so useful that if there is something not included about Battalion Command, it is not worth knowing. So, why is it that I went for a revised edition of this book? This book was first published in 2016. And in the last 6 years, so much of water and blood has flown down Galwan River. There is the Ukraine war. There are a lot of things that have happened in LC in the Northeast. In a period of about 2 years, we lost 3 commanding officers. One in Galwan, he's one of the early casualties. One in the CI Ops in the Valley. And one commanding officer in the Northeast. Unfortunately, he also lost his wife and child. So I've included a lot of issues. Some of them were actually covered earlier, very briefly. But based on all that, what has happened in India and abroad, I have included those aspects as they are relevant to the commanding officer. They include things like SOCS approach to crisis management. Emotional intelligence as it applies to a commanding officer is extremely important to deal with men. The directive style of command, and disruptive quotient plus many other things. Now, disruptive quotient is equality which is required to deal with unexpected, because battle is all about surprises and deception. I've also talked of officer-man relationship. When I was a div commander, there was a mutiny in one of the battalions, and the commanding officer with the Subedar Major left the unit. It's quite disheartening, actually, that one officer told me this. When he visited a unit, during its annual inspection, he found that the commanding officer was not running BPT with his men. And when he asked him, why are you not running BPT? His reply was, it's below my dignity to run BPT with the men. This is really disheartening, because you are a commanding officer of 800 men. Can there be anything undignified about being part of a military activity with your troops? So these are a whole lot of issues. And about emotional intelligence, where I actually converted a rogue officer who told me in the mess, as a deputy GOC, he was a lieutenant colonel, that I'll kick you so hard on your backside that you would know what has hit you. And I converted this rogue officer into the greatest asset for the military, somebody who would have laid down his life for me. So it's a very interesting book. It now actually becomes a very comprehensive one-stop advice and a workbook for officers who aspire to be commanding officers who are going to make a difference. Now, this book is available on Amazon, Flipkart, and Pentagon Press. So I suggest you get hold of this book, start reading it whilst you are a young company commander or even as captain, so that you develop that mental horizon and the character states that are required to be an effective commanding officer. So when you become a commanding officer, you hit the ground running. Read this book. Make a difference to your battalion. Make a difference to this army. God bless you. Happy soldiering.